You're probably asking yourself, M. Accuracy, why do you care to compete in the CAW All Stars Rumble? You've never been about titles, you've never been about gold. You've always been about fucking with people's mind. And that question actually has validity to it. I like fucking with people's minds. But I think that the air needs to be cleared here. I haven't been fully honest with myself. I've kind of given a vague description of my personal life. I've given the notion that there's nothing about me that you can figure out that you can try and talk me out of. Let me reiterate to everybody that doesn't understand. I was not abused growing up. Never was. I had a loving mother and father. I was adored. Because you see, I was raised in a middle-class house. And people think someone like myself should have been either in a single-parent household or an abusive household. And that's not the case. My parents never laid a hand on me. I never grew up with any political views. I kind of take politics not that seriously. I completely think that we're all fucked in the end, so we might as well just have fun. I don't tend to arrogantly say that I believe in a God or I don't. I don't know. I'm sure that if there is one, he's got a special place in hell for me, but I never put much stock into religion either. So people have probably heard the stories by now from Call of Honor many years ago, all the disgusting and dirty things that I did during my time. But I don't think people really truly understand the first inkling of what really got to me. That brings me to part one of this story. As a young boy, I used to love watching wrestling. Wrestling was my life. Still is my life, as you can see. I like to walk into a ring and fight a bunch of dudes without their shirts, and they're sweaty or they're filled with baby oil. It's really arousing. However, there was one incident in particular that really stuck to me. I was watching a show called Tuesday in Texas. It was a show back in like 1991, going into 1992. And I was about maybe 7 years old, 7, 8 years old when I saw this. And I watched this scene. I don't even remember what got to that part of the scene. But Jake Roberts was feuding with the Macho Man Randy Savage at the time. And Miss Elizabeth, who was Randy's wife, was coming to the aid of Randy. And Jake, this evil, sinister, snake-like of a human being, grabbed her by the hair and proceeded to do the most taboo thing at that time, and even to this day. Just slapped her across the face. Me and Gene Okerlund was so mad. He was so angry. He was like, "How could you hit a woman, damn it?" And Jake Roberts was just enjoying that. Enjoying the fans just booing the ever-loving crap out of him. The gasping of what he could have done. Why he even did it in the first place. And he said the sinister words, "Please, Randy, do me a favor. Bring her back. Please bring her back." I don't know why, but when I saw that, butterflies started roaming all over the inside of my body. It was so mesmerizing to see this man be able to take the crowd and put them into a position where they could not react on their own accord. It was so thrilling to watch. I don't know why, as a 7, 8-year-old who you would think would be into superheroes, was so enthralled at the idea that he just did something that was so unforgivable. It only took about 2 months, but that scene played in my head every single day. Maybe not 24 hours, but it did play in my head every single day. Well, I was on the playground at school, and there was an argument going on with this girl and this boy. And this girl, you know, she was Miss Princess, you know, she was Mrs. Perfect. She was basically all of those bullies that you see in those movies. But she has that appearance of Miss Perfect, which is what everybody thought of her as. Yeah, that was this girl. She was somebody that everybody was friendly with unless you were of smaller stature. She was very good at hiding her real personality, but her and this boy, who actually didn't actually take her shit, they both started arguing. They both started screaming at each other. They were going back and forth and it wasn't stopping. Now keep in mind, I'm not even in the situation. I'm just watching with my own 2 eyes as this young girl and this young boy are arguing with each other. And I don't know them from a hole in the wall. Well, Miss Perfect over here, I remember it to this day, she started squealing, screeching, like an annoying chalkboard scratch. It was the most irritating voice I think I have ever heard in my entire life. I sat there, seeing her squeal and just getting more and more irritated the more I listened to her. And that's not a feeling that I feel anymore. But at the time, it was just eating away at me. And then, that scene of Jake Roberts slapping Miss Elizabeth started playing in my head. It played over and over again. See, before, it would play maybe once, twice, whatever throughout the day. But this scene, at this particular moment, was just playing over and over and over. And the slap was getting louder and louder and louder. To the point where the voice in my head was telling me that this is an epiphany. This is a sign that you must enact upon. So it just kept playing and playing and playing until I couldn't get it out of my head anymore. And so I proceeded to actually get involved in business that wasn't of my own. I went up to this girl, spun her around, and at this point I saw Jake Roberts in my head and saw the sinister smile. And I took my right hand and whacked her right in her face. She fell to the ground. Her lip was busted open. She was bleeding. She was crying. One of the teachers, the guidance counselors, saw me and grabbed me by my shirt and dragged me into the principal's office. It was at that point that the principal himself started condemning me for hitting a girl. You're not supposed to hit girls. They are weaker. They are inferior to your strength. Don't you know that, boy? Now, normally, a boy in a circumstance like this would probably just cry or make up excuses, you know. I didn't cry. I didn't make excuses. I just sat there, feeling the intensity roll through me, trying to understand exactly what it is that I just went through, feeling good about what I had just done. It was orgasmic. And at 8 years old, I didn't know what an orgasm was, but it felt orgasmic. That was my introduction to funarchy in a ruleless society that I have purposely put my mind into. It felt so good. There's actually more to this story, but I'm going to have to save that for part 2. But before I cut it off here, allow me to elaborate to those who are going to be in this CAW All Stars Rumble. I slapped a girl in the face without malice. Imagine what I'll do to an adult male who's trying to get a title shot that belongs to me, that belongs to yours truly. I don't think you have a prayer in hell.